Houston, say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, welcome you all to yet another Friday vlog of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. We didn't happen last week, people. There was no Flagging Up Friday last week. I apologise to all of you lovely people who do look forward to me rabbiting on into this camera. I've taken a bit of a break, to be fair, from the channel for the last week and a half or so. And the last time I was on was the last vlog that I did. I've been spending a lot of time playing Final Fantasy VII Remake in the evenings, and really it's just been for my own well-being to have a little bit of a pause from the Let's Plays. I was finding them a bit of a task, to be fair. I think it's a lot of the lockdown sort of building up, so you're alone anyway all of the time, and then you're sitting there, you know. So I've tried to just take myself away from anything that felt like it was work, and just tried to enjoy Final Fantasy VII Remake as much as I could in the evenings. And of course, I'm back at work. I was off for 2 weeks, but I've been back at work for the last week, and so, you know, so there's no daytime recording or anything like that going on. But I've absolutely been loving Final Fantasy VII. I've got a number of issues with that game, but they are small issues. But it's a delightful, gorgeous game. It's a really nice remake of, well, part of the original game. And I can, you know, you can see where they're going with it. It just, I'll talk a bit more about it later on. But we're going to dive straight in to Ghost of Tsushima, which was shown on a State of Play last night. Now, I was kind of cautious about doing what I'm about to do, because I know some of you have said to me in the past that you listen to these vlogs of mine when you're walking and that sort of thing. So I'm always reluctant to maybe do like a talk over of reveal or something like that. But I was so stunned by what I saw with Ghost of Tsushima yesterday that I thought it would actually be perfect for doing a bit of a reaction to. I realise it's not my initial reaction, but I can give you my thoughts on it as we watch it together. So that's what we're going to do first. But we've got a number of things to talk about, because we've got that State of Play that happened. We've got the Xbox so-called gameplay reveal that happened about a week or so ago now, which had all sorts of egg and tomatoes thrown at it. It wasn't that it was bad, it just didn't live up to what they said it was going to be, which was gameplay. So we'll talk about that, and I'll give you footage of all of this. We've also had our first proper look at what gameplay on the PS5 can look like, because the people that have designed the new Unreal Engine 5 gave us a demo from the PlayStation 5, and it was absolutely gorgeous, so we'll be looking at that, and a number of other things, Assassin's Creed and such like. But we're going to dive, and of course, because everybody wants to know what finally happened with the decking. Because anybody that's following this channel, the most exciting thing I've talked about in, decades, people, is my decking work. Me doing my decking up in the garden. Anyway, for those of you that are interested, some of you did ask. So I will, if I remember, I will come back and talk about that a little bit, and throw up a little bit of video of what it ended up looking like. Just very briefly, people. I won't go on about it like I have done. So I tell you what, let's crack it. Flagging's up to you all, people. Flagging's up to you all. If you haven't got one of these, put me on pause right now. As long as it's not morning. As long as it's of an evening, you know, late afternoon, you know, maybe a lunchtime one. But, you know, never in the morning, people. Don't be having flaggings on your cornflakes. You know what I mean? It's never going to end well, people. Flagging's up to you. I'm going to sip of this before we get going. Oh, that was lovely. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to put my headphones on. The easiest way for me to do this is to actually watch it on my phone, because the laptop's doing all the work for recording the sound from the mic, and the camcorder's doing this. What have you? What ear? That's right, Stephen. So, this is the first time I've actually used the earphones that came with this iPhone 7, which I got 3 years ago, something like that. And the sound's amazing, but like most of these earphones, they won't stay in my ears, which is why I've not used them. But I got them out of the box specifically for this, because this one's staying in right, actually, because I wanted it to look a bit nicer than my sport ones, which hook around the ear and everything. So obviously you're going to be seeing it behind me as I watch it on this iPhone of mine. And yeah, you'll be seeing it on the big screen, and I'll be watching it on this little screen. So what we'll do, the reason this was such a good one for doing on a vlog like this, is because the people showing it off talk over it as well. So I will not talk over them. I'll try and make my comments, in between what they're saying. I think that, there are massive bits of gameplay where they don't talk. So I will shut up when the guy's talking, and then I'll jump back in with my thoughts. So let's crack ye in, people. Crack ye in. Also, this is my first time listening to it on proper headphones with proper sound. I just watched it on the TV. Well, my soundbar was on right enough, but and also it's my first time seeing it in proper HD because the streaming on YouTube is not at full whack at the minute. So here we go. The music's sublime as well. So good. Might actually put my old man specs on actually for it.
Hello everyone, I'm Jason Connell from Sucker Punch Productions.
Hi Jason.
We have a lot to show you today about Ghost of Tsushima. Combat, customization, special modes. But first, let's take a look at how you explore the world of Tsushima.
Sweet! That music, people. Oh, what? Turn it up a bit. Got a real...
Exploration has been at the heart of our open world design since the very beginning. But you can't have exploration if you don't have curiosity. So we've continually asked ourselves, how can we let the island guide you in the most thematic and immersive ways possible?
Got a real Zelda vibe from this beginning bit, I really did. Just the way that the wind moves and the grass, and it's like a grown-up Zelda feel to it. It's glorious. Or Breath of the Wild, I suppose I should say. Yeah, but the horse riding reminded me of Ocarina of Time. Look at the distance stuff there. Fires and smoke in the background and everything. I mean, this is current gen, people. This isn't even next gen. That wind blowing past him, and the wind has a function as well, which you'll see in a minute. Call the horse, lovely. R2 seems to be a very prominent button, and it's extremely cool what they've done with interacting with the world. You'll see in a minute, you can pick up herbs and stuff from your horse running past them, you can speak to people from your horse, you do not have to get off your horse to do a lot of the sort of more mundane things, not mundane in a bad way, but the mundane things you'll do regularly. I mean, that reminds me of Ocarina of Time, the way he's riding the horse and stuff there. It's just awesome. But watch out for the R2 button kicking in. Now that's him calling the wind to see which way he needs to go. So they've built in a way of telling you what direction you're meant to be going in, just using the world rather than some really, awful arrow or something. Beautiful. Lots of side things going on there that they're not taking any interest in showing us, but you can see the world's full of life. And he just picked up herbs there as he was riding along, or some sort of plant. Something trying to attack then.
The guiding wind can take you to all kinds of locations in the game, like this farmstead that's been taken over by the Mongols. It can also take you to your next big story moments, or even help you find rare collectibles. But what about the things that you don't know about, that you haven't seen yet, that you don't know exist? Keep your eyes peeled for other visual cues. Smokestacks on the horizons, interesting and odd-shaped trees, or maybe even animals trying to get your attention.
Quickly, number.
Keep going on about the music, but it's so diverse when you're just riding around. It's very soothing music to ride around too. Haunting, melodic. Look at that sun coming through the mist and the trees and everything. It's just insane. Now that little bird on the right is actually helping guide you to where you need to go. It's not just a random bird for no reason. I mean, how cool is that?
Stay away, my lord. The spirits of vengeful samurai haunt this forest.
Don't they always? R2 again to interact with him without getting off your horse. Love it. See the little lanterns on the side of the
Let's go, Nobu.
road and inside the forest. You can also play this game in native tongue as well, which it tells you later on. And then put subtitles on. This was interesting because he's picking up elements like linen and you know, crafting materials. I don't think we don't see in this demo any crafting stuff going on. So, but there must be to be collecting all that stuff, you would think. These fox dens were quite cool. The fox leads you somewhere as well. It leads you to a shrine that you pray at, and then you get blah points for it. It's brilliant. With the headphones on, I can hear all of the noises in the forest as well, which is quite cool. I got sunk down there. Yeah, so you got a shrine honoured there, and it must. Yeah, it looks like it unlocks something when you get so many shrines. Oh yeah, and then once you visited it, you can fast travel.
Tsushima is rich with exploration and discovery, and whether you're just following a string of torii gates that'll lead you to a high mountain shrine, or maybe it's just a fox trying to show you something hidden in the woods.
Why the fox not?
Either way, bring your sense of adventure and let the wind guide you.
Oh, it's just stunning, people. From the music to the world to the wind to the character design.
Lord Sakai.
Actually getting goosebumps watching this with headphones on. That music is so good. Pillar of Honor. What? Look at that view. That is insanity, people. Look at it. Jin the Samurai. I'm quite good doing these talk overs.
Hi,
I can drink more.
this is Nate Fox from Sucker Punch. Now, we just showed you some exploration, but let's switch gears and check out some combat.
Time for action, people. What's interesting is as well, you can, he says in a bit, but you can, you spec your character specifically to how you want to play the game. It's not like,
If you've ever seen a samurai movie, you know what to expect. Two warriors, sizing each other up, waiting for the other to make the first move.
Fight me!
Stand off. Exactly what I was going to say. What? Oh, perfectly timed, isn't it? They did.
As you can see, the Mongols are everywhere on this island. For Jin to succeed, he has to use real, skillful precision in fighting them. No wasted energy. Every strike must
Here
count.
we go. Arrow on the head. I see he's deflecting arrows with his sword as well. So you've got to assume there's a bit of a parry action going on here. Not sure about stamina bars or anything like that. Can't really see any. That guy only had half an arm when he went on the floor. I love it when the swords start clinking together. Seems to be a flash above the heads when they go to attack. Hey! Ah. You're welcome. Jin the Ghost. Time for stealth, I think, this bit.
So that was Jin fighting as a samurai. But now let's see him take on the same group of Mongols as the dishonorable Ghost. As the Ghost, he'll use every dirty trick he can think up to even the odds, even using fear as a weapon.
Nice. Spooking them out. Good night. Nice. Throws the crackers down. Their attention. Double whammy. There's a different square and triangle though, aren't there? Different people to attack at different times. Attack. Been spotted though. Smoke screen. But this is interesting because that doesn't put him down straight away. It did a critical attack, but it wasn't enough to kill him. And then there's the guy on the foot. He's cowering down. Awesome. That was brilliant. I don't think I've ever seen that in a game ever. I'll be using the fear and stuff. Goddamn Mongols everywhere, man. It's so beautiful. Grapple hook. It looks like you can only use the grapple hook in specific locations where the rope is, a bit like Tomb Raider type stuff. That's fine. I guess if they did it everywhere, it'd be a bit too Sekiro. It's not tried to be Sekiro at all, this game. It's tried to be a movie, effectively, I think. Well, they have, because that's exactly what they keep saying. They keep saying they want you to feel like you're immersed in one of these Japanese movies. Broken. So it's so gorgeous seeing it like this and not all pixelated like the stream was. It's absolutely fantastic. So obviously you must have missions like that scattered around the world where you've got to destroy the bases and weaken their control over the land. Customization.
You might have noticed that while fighting as the samurai, or sneaking around as the Ghost, Jin had on a different set of armor. That's because the armor in this game actually gives you different mechanical advantages. It's not just the way it looks. It helps accent your chosen playstyle. As you explore the world, you'll discover Omamori charms. They'll give you an edge in battle. But more importantly, as your legend grows, you'll develop all new techniques which transform Jin from a samurai into the Ghost. But the thing is, you get to decide how those techniques evolve and grow over time. It's always worth keeping an eye out for dye flowers. Find enough of them and you can change the color of an armor. So not only do you get to choose how the Ghost gameplay evolves, but you can fine-tune the look as well.
That's awesome, isn't it? So it's not just about armor looking different. It's specifically designed for how you're upgrading your character and how you want to play, whether it be a stealth, a warrior, or whatever. Photo mode, I'll probably never
Wouldn't be a Sucker Punch game
use.
if it didn't have photo mode. In our new photo mode, we have features such as color grading, depth of field, so you can focus on the right objects. We have a bunch of new features that really underline the motion and movement that's so great about our game. You can control the wind's direction, the speed, you can change out the particles to different types of leaves and fireflies. You can even select a track of music from our original score that might be a little bit more fitting. So if you're into doing a photo, or maybe you actually want to do a video, there's something here for you. Here's a few that I've created.
I mean, that's pretty cool, to be fair, if you're into that sort of thing. Fantastic video and photo elements of the game. And a lot of them don't give you that at launch. A lot of them wait until 3 months after or something. Looks like it's just ready to go. Japanese voice track, which I mentioned earlier.
A Japanese voice track option with subtitles is a perfect fit for our game. So I'm happy to say that before the first scene even starts, you'll be able to turn this option on.
Oh shit. Roughly translated. I think, maybe.
お侍どころじゃないよ。このお方は猛虎を打ち滅ぼすため。
Black and white mode's got a lot of people excited.
Here at Sucker Punch, we are huge fans of samurai cinema. We wanted to create a way for you to feel like you're playing your favorite samurai movie. So we created a windy, black and white, film grained out mode that you can turn on from the very beginning of the game.
That music building up there. It looks spectacular in black and white though. Look at it. Look at it, it's beautiful.
Today, we've shared with you some of the unique ways that you can explore the island of Tsushima. We've also shared with you some of the ways that you can fight as a samurai, or assassinate as the ghost, or customize Jin, or play in special ways. But we have so much more to show you in the future. Ghost of Tsushima comes out on July 17th. Thank you so much for watching today. We'll see you later.
Bravo, Sucker Punch, bravo. That is how you do gameplay show-offs, people. That is exactly how you do it. Stunning stuff. That game looks so polished as well. I mean, to have that photo mode ready for launch shows you just how ready they are. Oh, that music. Well, there you go, people. Brilliant stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed me chatting through it. I mean, I'm buzzing for that game. I think I'm actually more excited about that game than I am about The Last of Us at the minute. And the problem with The Last of Us Part 2 is, from everything I've seen, it feels at the minute like they've just turned Ellie into an angry woman that's becoming an assassin, rather than a story that is about trying to reshape that world. Now, I could be completely wrong. I'm going by clips and trailers, but everything I'm seeing and everything I've heard from Naughty Dog is saying that it's a story of hate and revenge, whereas the first one was about love and blah. And that's fine, but the first one had such a story arc that you thought, what's going to happen when she gets there? Like, she is obviously the only immune person we know of that's been bitten. where's that going to develop to? And it doesn't feel like it's going to develop into anything, given what we're hearing about the next game. It's literally like she's angry. From the trailers I've seen, and I haven't seen any spoilers, people, so I don't know. But from the trailers I've seen, she seems to fall in love with someone. She seems to get captured, beaten the shit out of. Looks like to me, from the clips that I've seen, that whoever she falls in love with gets either killed or captured or blah. And she goes on a massive revenge killing spree, and I just don't see how that is an original story. Like, and turning Ellie into an assassin for me is like, that's not where I wanted that character to go. I wanted her to be strong. I wanted her to be able to defend herself and cope with that world that she has to live in when it comes to the infected and all that malarkey. But I didn't want her to become someone that was murdering like loads of... I realise these are supposedly bad people, but I don't want her to be murdering people for the entire game for the sake of revenge. Like, that's not how I saw Ellie's story going. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm making a lot of assumptions there based on some trailers, but it's got me a bit de-stoked for it. I mean, it's going to be an amazing game, don't get me wrong, but it's got me a bit de-stoked for it because I love the first one so much. Anyone that knows this channel and me knows that that's probably my favourite game of all time. It's up there. And... I feel like pushing a story out that's just about turning somebody into a mass killer is like, But again, it's me making judgments based on trailers. But every trailer I've seen has shown Ellie as someone that's simply out for revenge, and there is no other depth to that story other than she wants to kill a bunch of people because they did her wrong. So it's got me a little bit de-stoked for it. It doesn't mean I'm not excited for it, just slightly less excited than I was. I feel like Ghost of Tsushima is bringing me something completely different. It doesn't, to me, feel like... I mean, I said all the way through that I don't think I mentioned in that entire me watching it anything about Assassin's Creed. Aaron Bruce said he thought it felt like a Japanese Assassin's Creed when he was looking at it, but to me, it's got elements of a few games, I suppose, but to me, it felt more Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, grown up than it did anything else. And, there's a few elements. Any stealth game is going to... Someone will say it's a bit Assassin's Creed-y, I suppose, but, I don't know. I didn't get any Assassin's Creed out of what I saw, other than maybe the fact that you have these areas you've got to try and destroy to make areas safer. I suppose that's an Assassin's Creed job that you do when you're going around, but it really feels like a game that is standing on its own 2 feet, taking a bunch of ideas from a whole bunch of games and then sprinkling its own magic all over it with new ideas. The way that it's using the world to guide you and send you in the right direction without all sorts of invasive stuff on screen is absolutely beautifully... I mean, that is gorgeous. Looking at what we just saw there, that is an absolute contender for Game of the Year next year. Absolutely. If it holds up with a terrific story and it holds up with interesting side quests, not just go and kill these people and burn that shipyard. Because the one thing, like The Witcher, I always say this about The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 was amazing because the biggest part of that game for me was every side quest I went on had a really interesting story and something I wanted to see through. It was like a little mini game all of its own. They were just interesting stories to go in and you're helping someone, but it's got this whole story around it and new characters to meet. And it really added to the mythology of the world and the people that lived in it. It was just amazing. And if they've built that into that game, then, hands down, it's going to be amazing. If it doesn't have that, if it doesn't have really interesting side questy type things, then, looking at what we've just seen, probably looking at 9s. I think if it's the main story's good or great, but the side questy bits aren't as... it doesn't keep you as hooked, then maybe it might land on an 8. But looking at that, that's a 9 or a 10 at the minute. I mean, bloody hellfire. It looks incredible and it plays incredible. And the whole using of the world to guide you around is just genius. I love it, people. Love it. So, yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I was going to do a similar thing with... Sorry, I think I might have been shouting with those of me. I was going to do I can take these off now. I was going to do a similar thing with the other things we're going to talk about, but I felt like they weren't as interesting to sit and watch. One of which was the Unreal Engine 5 reveal, which was actually showing off gameplay footage from the PS5, which is the first PS5 footage we've seen. We'll come to that in a minute, though. So let's go to my list, people. Let's go to my list. What else do we have? Do you know, this is the first time that I'm almost running out of beer because there's so much time to drink it watching that. So yeah, so the next thing out on my list was the Xbox event, which actually happened before the PlayStation 5 event. Well, it wasn't. Sorry, it wasn't a PlayStation 5 event. It was a PlayStation 5 gameplay, but it was actually Unreal Engine 5 that were showing it off. So it was Unreal. It was the people from Epic Games. Get very confused here, people. Showing off the Unreal Engine, which they write, and that's what the developer. Well, a lot of developers will be using that come next gen to design their games in, and it's got all these massive features that are groundbreaking features and stuff. And it was that came after the Xbox One. The Xbox One was spouting that it was going to be, we're going to show off the first gameplay footage from the Xbox Series X, and it's going to be amazing. And then we got to it, and it wasn't that it was a bad thing. It was just that they didn't show any gameplay. Like, there was probably a spit worth of gameplay in it that you could tell just a couple of seconds of, and everyone was like, well, hang on, we didn't see any gameplay. Like, I think there was one game that showed you running around shooting stuff, jumping in a car and driving around. The rest of the games were all pretty much cinematic, including Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed showed in-game engine, but it didn't show in-game gameplay that I saw. I didn't see any. So there was a bit of a letdown there. So far as, you know, people were really stoked for it. It's the first misstep that Microsoft have made, really. They touted that as something it wasn't. And the interesting thing is, one of the devs came out and said, well, we only put the cinematic up because we were only given a 2-minute time slot, and we couldn't edit anything down that would have made sense in gameplay. And then you think, well, why did they limit them to 2 minutes? Like, nobody's going anywhere. The bloody thing was only on for... it went on for that long. It was only on for half an hour or something, wasn't it? So I don't understand why they limited them to 2 minutes when they could have cut out probably some of the talking that people did, and, you know, and given people 5 minutes where they could have shown off a bit of story and then a bit of gameplay. So I don't understand that at all. Like, it's not like you've paid money to have a stage for an hour and you're limited to time. It's your own channel. Like, you can stay on there as long as you like. People will stay with you. They're not going to go anywhere. Why are you limiting people to 2 minutes? It's like, I've absolutely no idea what that's all about. Why on earth would you do that? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever, limiting somebody to 2 minute slot. So there you are. So it was just a massive letdown. That said, I say that, but that said, some of the trailers that I saw actually were games that I was interested in. There was one called In fact, I wrote them down. I did write them down. There's one called Medium, I remember, and Scorn. My concern for Scorn is apparently it's been in development since 2016 or something, and it's still, you know, it's like how good is it going to be if it's been developed from that? Any game that's taken a huge amount of time to make has always ended up being a little bit all over the shop. There's been a number of, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head now, but there's not an Alien game that took about 10 years to make, and it was bloody dreadful when it came out. You know, everyone's dead stoked for it, and then it just, like, bombs. Hang on, I need to come off my main list and go to Inside Xbox. There we go. So there was Bright Memory Infinite. And Bright Memory is already a game on PC, but Bright Memory Infinite seems to be the next version of it. There was Scorn, which looked really dark and interesting, but we didn't see any of the gameplay. Actually, like, I think Scorn was the one we first started watching it, and Aaron Brew and me were both like, is that an Alien game? Because the way it was showing off, I'll hopefully have some of this behind me, but it was like, I looked at it and it was like, that looks like an Alien game, and then it wasn't, it was Scorn. But I mean, they're clearly like wearing their, you know, their their influences on their sleeve, I think is the phrase I'm looking for. And then there was World of Darkness, Bloodlines 2, which was a vampire one, Call of the Sea, not really remembering that one. Medium looked really, that looked really cool. Like, Medium had a really dark edge to it, and yeah, that was the one that they've managed to get the guy who did the original music score to Silent Hill to do the music score for, or help, I think he's doing it in hand with somebody else, but do the music score for The Medium. So that looked really cool, really looking forward to that. Scarlet Nexus, Second Extinction, and there's a 7th Yakuza game, Yakuza Like a Dragon. is on the way, people. So if you're a big Yakuza fan, Yakuza, it's not called Yakuza 7, it's called Yakuza Like a Dragon. And Aaron Brew is well stoked for that because he got into the Yakuza games about a year ago, I think, and he just was like, "This is the best thing I've ever played." So he's super excited. The difference with this Yakuza game apparently is that it's a turn-based action system rather than free fighting. So it'd be interesting to see how people take to that. It's not a bad thing, you know, changing it up a bit and what have you. It does seem to suggest, I think somebody said, you really need to have played the other Yakuza games to understand the concept of the story that's going on, though. So if it is something you might be interested in, you might want to start playing the older ones are on the cheap nearly all of the time, though. So it's not a bad series to pick up on. Aaron keeps telling me to do it, but I've not managed it yet. Well, I've already got a gazillion games I've not played, people. You know what I mean? So there you go. So the Xbox event was a bit of a deflation, but it still had good games in there that I was like, oh, quite interested in that. I mean, it was nothing, you know, it wasn't like there was any massive reveal that shook our boots or anything, but there were a few in there I thought that's got me well interested. I'm keeping an eye out, especially medium. So, you know, it wasn't a total loss. It was just a bit of like, you missold that. It was a bit like the PlayStation reveal, wasn't it? I mean, there wasn't a reveal. It was Mark Cerny talking for an hour about technical specs, and everyone was like, that just wasn't what I wanted to see. So it was a little bit like that. It was like you kind of missold what we were about to watch. So, yeah, so on the flip side of that, out of the blue, because I don't think they ever announced it or anything, there was an Unreal Engine 5 reveal of how that's going to look on next gen. And they've been working with PlayStation to show off this demo. And it's been really interesting because all of the things that they're coming out and saying about the PlayStation 5 are kind of reaffirming what I've been thinking all along about this hoo-ha, about the fact that people think that the Xbox Series X is the most powerful and better because it's got 2 teraflops more than the PlayStation 5, which is just 10 or under, just under 10. And my feeling on that was, after seeing Mark Cerny's tech spec readout and then listening to what Microsoft have done, I think that I still think, even I did before this and I think now after as well, I still think that the speed at which the games are going to load, not just on actual loading the game in, but in the world, when you're running through a world and it's loading assets in all the time, I think that stuff is going to be faster on the PlayStation 5 than on the Xbox Series X, because these guys have come out and said that PlayStation have actually leapfrogged everybody in how they've designed the architecture of the PlayStation 5 in order to make things load at such a pace that they're not even seeing pop-in or anything, and they're using assets that are so crystal clear and not even blurry, but it can load them so quickly they don't have to worry about it anymore. And all of this new light variation and stuff they've got going on without using ray tracing, they don't have to use that because it's really, really heavy on the CPU. And this goes for cross-platform. But the ray tracing doesn't have to be used because of this new thing they've got on the Unreal Engine 5 that can, you know, do it in a completely different way. So, I mean, it looks spectacular. Again, it'll be playing behind me while I'm talking about it. And this people think this was just it's just a tech demo, though. It's not going to look like that. This was a playable demo that was meant to be at GDC, but because GDC was cancelled, they've just shown it this way. Because I was watching the Kind of Funny guys, and they were saying that I think they had invites to GDC or something like that, and it said on it that there was a playable demo of this thing, in order for them to go and have hands-on what it would be looking like playing on a PS5. So what you were looking at there was somebody actually playing it, not just some video playing. And that is really impressive stuff. It really is. The only little pause I've got about next gen is they've been punting on for ages about 60 frames to up to 128 frames per second on these things, and yet it's starting to sound like that is a massive oversell. Because we'll get to Assassin's Creed in a minute, but 30 frames per second that was playing out that demo. So I think there's going to be a trade-off as to what are you going to try and push graphically, and what are you going to be happy with on your frames per second. Now, I'm telling you, like, people are not going to be happy with 30 frames per second on these next consoles. So developers have to calm down a little bit and just go, look, do you know what? Do we want like? I think what's happening here is it's the first consoles that are going to be able to push 4K properly. But I think what gamers would rather have is the option to say, I'm happy with 1080p at 60 frames per second playing beautifully. I would rather have that than 4K at 30 frames per second. Because frankly, I mean 1080p is gorgeous anyway. But give me the option. You know, I mean, a really smooth 30 frames per second is still quite nice, actually. I mean, I've played plenty of games where I've thought, God, this looks amazing, 30 frames per second. But again, I argue, like, why is it always 30 or 60? Why can you not just give us a locked 40 or a locked 50? Hopefully that's something they can come up with, because that's a massive bonus. But I don't want to be, like, hovering on 30 for an entire other generation. So, and this comes from the fact, and we'll move on to it now, the details that had come out about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but we'll come to that. So the PlayStation 5 is sounding really exciting at the minute, and I'm kind of a bit more stoked for it, so far as I feel like it's going to give me a next generational game, and Microsoft aren't. What Microsoft are going to give you for the next 2 years, and they've already confirmed this, is that anything they make first party is only going to will play on both the Xbox One and will play on the Series X. Now that is not, you cannot possibly build games that will take advantage of the new power and be capable of going backwards. You can't do that. So you are limiting yourself by doing that in any way whatsoever. Unless they've come up with some magic that I don't know about. But there is no way. You are always going to limit yourself, because it's not just about graphical emphasis or frames per second. It's about how big and deep and immersive you can make a world as well. So it's not just about, it's about how much is in there and how much you can expand it and make it, I mean, Starfield's never going to be on last gen, is it? I mean, it's going to be huge, that game. The next Skyrim's never going to be on last gen. I mean, it's never going to happen on next Elder Scrolls, whatever. It's going to be interesting. So for me, I'm a little bit more excited about the PlayStation 5 simply because I've got a feeling that they're going to release a game that you can only get on the PlayStation 5. And I think that game might be Horizon Zero Dawn 2, my personal opinion. Or it will be, there's been rumours of it might be as well, but there's been a remake of, or a remaster of Demon Souls. The original Dark Souls, effectively. It was the one that came before Dark Souls, was called Demon Souls. There's been I think it's a remake. I don't think it's a remaster, but we'll see. But there's a big hoo-ha about the fact that might actually be coming along just for the PlayStation 5. And they've got such a massive catalogue of titles that are going to be coming as well. I mean, it's insane. What we've just looked at with Ghost of Tsushima is just stunning. And it's like, what is that going to look like when it's patched for the PS5? It's mind-blowing. So at the moment, I'm a bit more excited about the PS5 because I feel like it's going to bring me a form of next-gen experience where I don't feel like Xbox is going to give me that. I might get a better performing version of a game that I would have bought on this gen, fine. And I'm still excited for that, but I'll be more excited about the Xbox Series X in 2 years' time when I know that this game coming out is not available on the Xbox One because it's not capable of doing it. Only the Series X is capable of doing it. So, because we want to see those leaps forward. But I'm super excited that these guys are coming out, the Unreal guys are coming out, and they're saying, honestly, PlayStation have leapfrogged everybody, like PCs included, with the way that they've built the architecture for the PlayStation 5, and the speed that it can push the assets out when you're playing the game is just insane, apparently. So yeah, I'm really like they've taken a real leap forward in technology, and if that means that the PlayStation 5 is more expensive than the Xbox Series X, then I'm absolutely fine with that. I've got no problem with that at all, and I think that will be the case. I've got a feeling it'll either be exactly the same price or it'll be, 50 quid more for the PlayStation 5. But I'll take that. I'll take that leap in technology if that's the case. I'd buy it anyway, but You know, Microsoft would be happy to sell them at a loss of 50 quid rather than, I think, just to jump and try and get ahead at some point at this stage in the game. Thirsty people. So there you are. Shall we move on to, very excited about the PlayStation 5. Where were we? Right, Assassin's Creed is probably the... I'm watching the battery on my... halfway down the battery on my camcorder. Have I missed anything? Well, yeah, Assassin's Creed and my thoughts on Final Fantasy, I guess, and then decking. So, yeah, so in brief, here's what happened with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We got big reveal. We got the movie, and then everyone's like, this is the first big game. This is the big game that's coming to the Xbox Series, the next gen of console. We're going to see what it looks like. So we get the cinematic trailer, which you expect. And then Phil Spencer's saying every game that comes to the Xbox Series X is going to be minimum of 60 frames per second or up to 120 frames per second. And then they come along and they do the gameplay reveal, which wasn't gameplay at all. And then that was a massive disappointment. I mean, it looked great, but it was still a massive disappointment because we didn't see any gameplay. And then after that, they come out and say, well, we're aiming for a minimum of 30 frames per second. It's like, what? On the Xbox Series X. And it's like, how? What are you on about? Like, like, I've got 30 frames per second 4K on the Xbox One X. Why should I go and buy an Xbox Series X if all I'm going to get is exactly the same thing, 4K at... Oh, anyway. I mean, I'm sure it'll play a bit smoother, but I don't want to, I don't want to have spent and gone out and spent all that money on the new consoles to be having that sort of stuff said. Outside of that, it could be that those sort of games become that sort of 60 frames per second once we're talking about Unreal Engine 5. Because if Unreal Engine 5 gives them the ability not to have to use the ray tracing aspect of it and cut down on the CPU that way and all that malarkey, then it could be that we end up with versions of Assassin's Creed later on that are much, much smoother. That said, I don't actually know if Assassin's Creed's on the Unreal Engine. It might be on something else. But we've got to bear in mind that the developers are probably still using engines that were made for this gen, really. So, we'll forgive anything. I suppose to some extent, if we compare Black Flag to Odyssey, or, there is no comparison between these two games. So it could be that as time goes on, Assassin's Creed games get more and more fluid with the frames per second. So, so that was that was a bit of a letdown. It still looks like a fantastic game, I mean, don't get me wrong. But Final Fantasy VII, well, I'm at the last I think I'm on chapter 16 now. I'm at the big Shinra building, and so I'm not going to give any spoilers. I love the game. This is my feeling on it just now. I love the game. Love the characters, love the voice acting, love the way they've styled the world. It looks amazing, the music's amazing, the vibes of it is amazing, and I couldn't get enough of that game. It is absolutely brilliant, right? That is my general feeling on it. However, the game just never lets you just go. You know what I mean? It's like every time you feel like you're going to get a real sprint on and get some good fighting sessions in, it just drags you into some tiny cutscene or forces you through some little crawlway that you're going along like this. Or, I mean, it's full of really frustrating things that don't need to be there. And I don't understand why they've done it. Like, the whole thing of Final Fantasy games was the freedom to just run around and fight and level up. And I feel like I've not had that in this game. Like, I've had areas that I've got to walk through that I fight things in, and I can go back and walk through those areas again. I guess the enemies come back and stuff, but it's linear. Like, there's only a few areas where you get to go and, through extra doorways. It's not open. I mean, it might be the nature of the area that we're in, but the next game needs to let you just go. And it finally did it when I hit the Shinra building. It finally, you go into the first section of it, like the underground bit, car parky bit maybe. It's not underground, it's the first level. And they free you up and you're running from those three guys, doesn't even stop the fight, sprint off. There's another three guys and you're fighting all over the place and it's brilliant. And when it lets you do it, it's just the most joyous thing. But it's been so limited to like, and then I did that for like, what, 10 minutes, and then that's it. Like, I haven't seen that again. And that's the very stuff that made the game suddenly exciting, you know, battle-wise. But outside of that, the boss fights are fantastic. The really big fights, really, really good. It really that battle system really challenges you when you start getting a hang of it. I mean, just yesterday, after all these hours of playing it, I keep realizing, oh, I can do that in the battle. I didn't know I could do that and go straight to R2 or L2. I keep hitting X and then deciding what people are going to do. And it's brilliant. It's a really fluid system. I really like it. I still miss the old. I still feel like Final Fantasy 13 was my preferred system. There are elements of that in this battle system, but like the ATB gauge and all that sort of stuff. But I feel like the Final Fantasy 13 engine. I love that battle system. I need to go back and play it again now, like almost immediately, to see if I feel that way picking it up, or whether I'll feel limited because I can't move around. But yeah, it's great. It's a fantastic game, and those limitations just frustrate me. It's like pacing. It's like find and choose where you're going to tell us a bit of story and keep it really far and wide, so that in between all of that, just let me run around and fight stuff. But I think the problem is that the area that they've tried to tell the story in is so small, really. I mean, you've got Sector 5, 6, 7, I think, and then the big Shinra blah. It's not really got any breathing space to let you go and run around and do all that stuff. So I'm hoping, I can't remember much about Final Fantasy VII Original, to be fair, but I'm hoping that in the next one we get to just let us loose and let us fight like we did at the foot of that Shinra building, where it's not just fight 3, walk about, fight another 3, and you're actually bouncing between all sorts of enemies that are all kicking around the area. It was really, really good. Boss fights are fantastic, though. Really challenging, really, really good. I mean, it's like Souls-esque level stuff, it's really, really cool. So there you are. So that's my feelings on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Not got far to go. I think I've only got a few hours left on the game, not in this vlog. Not going to have battery for another 2 hours, people. I thought I missed something up at the top there. Yeah, we've done all that. So there you are, people. That's pretty much it. It's just to say, for anyone who was interested, because a few of you did ask, I apologise for anyone who gives not a shit about my decking. But my decking came out really well. I'm absolutely delighted with it. In fact, I'm going to probably go out and sit and look at it while I edit all of this together. And it took so long to do, but it's one of those things like when you put good hard work and a little bit of money into it. In this case, that when the results come out really well, then you're really, really chuffed with it. Hopefully I can find the video footage while I've been talking about that to show you how it came out. I was really delighted with it. It couldn't have come out any better than that, given the age of that decking. I mean, it's like 15-year-old decking, I think. To having stripped it right back with the stripper and the jet spray, which took me a whole day, people, to do that. I was aching and freezing, and I had about a week's gap letting it dry out through the rainy days and sunny days. And then it dried out really nicely, and then got the proper decking stuff onto it, and it's really holding up. It's really nice. So the colour, although was darker than I wanted, it's a really nice, rich sort of cedar colour. I really like it. It's really, really nice. So yeah, really, really chuffed with that. So there you are. I don't think I missed anything that was on my list. I think we're just approaching the hour mark, so we did all right there, people. I really, really enjoyed talking through that. I know I've done those before, but I haven't done them as part of the vlog before. I've always done them as an entity of their own, talking over a reveal. So if I find ones like that are kind of interesting because they're speaking over them as well, I'll maybe build them into the vlog. As I say at the beginning, I'm only conscious of it because I know people go out for walks or runs and listen to this in their ears rather than actually watch what I'm doing. So, some people just listen rather than view, is what I'm getting at there. So I'm just conscious of it. So if it's something I can build in like that, where there's going to be enough talking for it to be interesting while you're on your runs or your walks or whatever, then, or even at work. Some people listen to vlogs at work while they're working on other stuff, so they're not actually looking at it, they're just listening. So yeah, so I'll keep that in mind, because I actually really enjoyed that. And now that I've got the iPhone headphones down, it's quite good to just sit. I can look at it on the phone. You guys can see it on the big screen. So there you are. So there you are, people. That's been fantastic. My beer did last me after all that. I've got a little bit left. I might have another one or two in the fridge, though. You know what I mean? Got to have backups, people. You know, there you are. That's all I have to say. If I keep going, I'll just be rambling on about absolutely nothing at all. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this vlog of mine today, and I shall catch you all in the next one, folks. You guys take it easy. Bye.